Hi and welcome to this reading. Today's reading is about a dream that I had on the morning of Palm Sunday, which was April the 13th, yesterday, 2025. A few messages within the dream, and I'm still piecing it together, but what I thought I would do is I would come and share the dream with you, share the thoughts that I had about some of the initial messages, and I know, as has happened previously in dreams that I've had, the message actually develops in terms of additional messages that I receive in the days, weeks, months after the initial dream message. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. A bit about me first. I'm an intuitive tarot reader. I receive messages prior to a reading. I will then come and use my tarot and oracle decks, as I said, to further clarify that message. All of my messages are timeless. Whenever you stumble across this reading, you are meant to find it. It might contain part or all of a message that you are meant to be receiving. It could resonate with you personally, or it could be in regards to somebody in your surroundings. Now, as a side note, I used a new candle, or I tried to use a new candle for this reading. I probably used 10-15 matches and it wouldn't light. There may be a message in that for somebody. So I've gone back to using the original candle that I've been using for the last couple of months. All of the decks that I use on my channel are my own designs because I'm also an illustrator, part of my spiritual journey to attach my God-given gift and align it with my spiritual gifts. Man-made and spiritual. That's interesting because that's what's coming through in this reading. Any songs that I mention, any TV series, anything like that I mention, I will pop in the description box. There's also a link if you're called to any of my tarot or oracle decks. There's a link to purchase those in there as well. So I'm going to start with the dream message that I got. Now, I've not been sleeping properly lately. I keep waking up. I've got a million thoughts in my brain. I'm trying to shut my brain down, but I am just getting message after message after message coming through. And so I'd kind of had a bit of a broken sleep on Saturday night, and I finally drifted off to sleep at about 4:30 early Sunday morning. And my voice is starting to go, which is interesting because I haven't done any readings for days. I've actually been trying to sit in this energy to piece things together. So as I said, about 4:30 on Sunday morning, I kind of finally dozed off and I was in a really, really heavy sleep. I always keep my phone beside my bed just in case I wake up and I've had a dream. I find that if I get the messages down really, really quickly, I don't lose any essence of what it was about. Oftentimes, if I try and remember something, I will forget it. In this particular instance, I remember waking up and writing stuff down. I just send a text message to myself. But when I woke up fully a couple of hours later, I looked at the message and thought, whoa, I don't even remember writing that. So the message was, I heard the words, Rapture date among men. I saw in my dream the number 41 and the letters in the sky. And you know how often you see a constellation in the sky and the stars of that constellation are marked out with kind of a bold line, and it forms an image, like a pot or a fish or this formed the letter U on one side of what I was viewing, a U and an N. So I got Rapture date among men, the number 41, and the letters U and N. When I woke up and read that message, the first thing that popped into my mind, because the message didn't really make sense to me, but the first thing that popped into my mind was, it has begun. So as I went down the rabbit hole of trying to investigate what this dream was actually about, or what this message was actually about, as I said, I think I've got bits of it, but I think the rest will actually develop. And it often develops through readings, through future readings. I got the phrase Passover Siddur song. I was hearing my grandfather's name. Now, his name in short was Stan Jacob. Stan means moral, and Jacob is obviously heel holder. But his full name, Stanley Vernon Jacob. Now, this was a man of faith. Stan means stony field. Vernon means older tree or evergreen tree. And Jacob, as I said, is heel holder. I believe the messages that I receive come from him. So I put his full name into Gematria, which is an alphanumeric tool that'll give you a number value for his name, 2227, which aligns with diaspora. Now, when I was looking at the letters U and N, obviously we think of the United Nations. Now, diaspora is the Israelites in Gentile countries, so non-Jewish countries. But Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, in terms of constellations, and that's how I saw them. This image in my mind in the dream. Ursa Major and Ursa Minor both form U's in the sky. And I did say it in one of my recent readings. W had come through, and I kept hearing the word Cassiopeia. Well, Ursa Major and Ursa Minor are the W of Cassiopeia. Ursa Minor contains Polaris, the North Star. The North Star is the point where we get to heaven. And Cassiopeia, well, sometimes it's referred to as the W, is also referred to as the upside down N, which would be the U and the N. Ursa Minor has 7 bright stars, which includes Polaris. And Ursa Major has 7 bright stars, but it has 223 stars in total. Now, 223 adds up to a 7, tying back to his surname, which was the message I was getting through from him. His surname, my maiden name before I was married, was Jacob. Jacob's trouble. Israel is 77 years old this year, which was the year that Jacob lay down on the rock at Bethel and had the dream about the stairway to heaven. And actually, I should have taken, it's difficult because you can get a fine in Australia if you use your phone while you're driving your car. But this morning when I dropped my husband at work, there was these two, I'll do it here, there was these 2 cloud formations, big kind of, almost they look like gates. And then in between was this, it was like a ladder. And I said to my husband, look, there's that big portal in the sky. And he just looked at me like I was a lunatic. But it literally looked like 2 gates and a ladder or stairs, like a stairway to heaven. Now, on the way home, after dropping him off, I saw, and I'll post it in, and the photo doesn't do it justice, I saw the most beautiful rainbow I have ever seen in my life. It was wide. It was almost like it was 2 meters in front, but it was quite a way away. It was actually up in the mountain ranges, and the base of it actually fell over near where my parents live, which was just beautiful. But it was the widest, biggest, brightest rainbow I have ever seen in my whole life. Now, I'm 50 this year. I've seen my fair share of rainbows. It was incredible. I actually pulled the car over multiple times to try and take a photo of it. And the photo just doesn't do it justice. It was beautiful. We've had big, big thunderstorms over the last couple of days. In fact, 2 days ago, on Saturday, we had this almighty thunderstorm in the middle of the day. Normally, in the city where I live, they sort of come in the evening, afternoon storms, but this was sort of 11 o'clock in the morning, and these almighty cracks of thunder. It was just incredible. And obviously you may have seen on the news, but Australia's been getting lots and lots of rain. Whole areas of the state where I live in are just covered in water. Now, as I said, this dream came through on the morning of Palm Sunday, which is also Passover, April 13th, which is a 4/4 portal. And when I woke up and started to sort of pull through the messages within the dream, it was 7:02 a.m. That's 2 sevens, 77, Jacob's trouble. So I started looking at the number 41. Not a number that I had specific relevance to, not something I'm Catholic, had much knowledge about until I looked it up. The first thing that popped up was Isaiah 41. Now, if you are new here for the first time, I get lots of biblical references. I don't go looking for them, I just get them. And so I just have to deliver that message. Isaiah 41, the helper of Israel. Be silent before me, you islands. Let them come forward and speak. Let us meet together at the place of judgment. Now I heard it has begun. That word, rapture date, which is the first thing I heard. As I said, I'm 50 this year. It was only in the last 12 months that I've even heard the word of the rapture. The rapture essentially is what people perceive to be the second coming of Christ, and it involves judgment of the people within Christ's church and a meeting in the sky, a meeting in the heavens between Christ and his church. Not something necessarily in terms of my faith that a lot of people think they're going to be raptured up to heaven, physically raptured up to heaven. Do I believe there's a second judgment coming? And it's interesting I said that, a second judgment coming. Yes, I do. Now, the Bible meaning of number 41 is the dawn of a new day. The hope and promise that if you don't quit, the rain will stop, the giant will fall, and you will enter your promised land. I had my songs on random shuffle as I was driving home, seeing this huge big rainbow in the sky. And the song that came up, and I want to make sure that I get it right. Interlude Dawn, which is an August D song. And now I've got that. It's a new day, it's a new dawn, it's a new life. That's Michael Bublé. The other thing that just happened then is I can smell toast. Now, all of my windows are shut. It's cold outside today, so I haven't got any windows open. And nobody is awake in my house. Nobody's been in my kitchen. But I can smell toast. And as I've just pulled out my notes, this came flying out. There's a message in that. That's in the Vatican. What is that picture? Wow. Okay, I've just looked it up. The sphere within the sphere, Sfera con Sfera, describes a series of spherical bronze sculptures by Italian sculptor Arnaldo Pomodoro. The sculpture was designed for the Vatican and is also displayed in Dublin, Tel Aviv, and the Italian Parliament. The form depicts the globe of Earth itself. This complex work of art, composed of a sphere growing inside another sphere, can be read as a symbol of the emergence of a new world from the old. Now that's a photo. I'm actually putting together a deck at the moment because I've realised that when I was 21, I did a big trip through, well, I basically did the majority of my overseas travel. 21 is 3 sevens. Lots of seven references because Ursa Major and Ursa Minor also have sevens, and the surname Jacob is 77. Israel 77. Uranus. I went to the Vatican. That's a photo I took. Uranus goes into Gemini on the 7th of the 7th this year. Uranus is the planet of sudden shocking events. A breaking up down of the old, a beginning of the new. Okay, so let me have a look. Let me give you some information on these 41 references, because I was like, that doesn't really make sense to me. And then when I started searching it up, I was like, holy cow, it's crazy. I'm going to leave that there, actually. I'm going to leave that there. So, Noah, it rained for 40 days. On day 41, the rain stopped. And we had the rainbow. Moses committed, I don't know whether I can say that word, committed murder and hid in the desert for 40 years. On the 41st year, God revealed himself to him. That sounds a bit weird. In his 41st year, God appeared before Moses and gave him a second chance. Exodus. The children of Israel wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. On year 41, they entered the promised land. David. 40 days, Goliath bullied Israel. Day 41, David stepped up and he became the king. Jonah, now that's come through in a recent message. Jonah delivered a message to Nineveh for 40 days. Day 41, God changed his mind because Nineveh repented. Jesus fasted in the desert for 40 days and was tempted by the devil. Day 41, the devil fled and Jesus launched Christianity. The disciples, 40 days after the resurrection, Jesus appeared before the disciples. Now that is in reference to next weekend, which is Easter. "40 days after Easter. On day 41, he ascended into heaven." There was a little marker within that information that I found, and it said, identify your 41. What's your 41st day? Is this a collective message? Is it an individual message? Take it as it resonates. I was called to then, as I said, I was getting my grandfather's name, and specifically Vernon, which is his middle name, which means evergreen. And again, these messages are just, sometimes they come through as random, but then I go back when I do a reading in a couple of days' time and I go, hang on a minute, something that made no sense back then actually makes sense now. Vernon means evergreen. Always green, green light, same thing, always green. Green means go. It has begun, which is what I heard. It has begun. A spiritual green light for something that's going to happen. Now, the 7th of the 7th, which is the 7th of July this year, is when Uranus goes into Gemini. The last time Uranus was in Gemini was the end of World War II. It was Hiroshima. It was the atomic bomb. So I looked up evergreen in gematria. 927 and 594 are the two numbers that align. 927 also aligns with the word Holocaust Day. In Strong's Concordance, it aligns with in haste or very precious. Holding on to something that's very precious. 594 aligns with the words Jupiter, Rapture, which is what I got in my dream, Ascension, Golden Dawn. Now, I got that song this morning in my random shuffle, Interlude Dawn. It also aligns with the words Poetry, Everton, Aborigines, which for me are first man, Adam, Eve, first man, South Korea, and Zera. I'm going to come back to that because I did see that in my notes before. I thought, what is that? Zehra. Z-E-H-R-A. Because I knew I'd seen it before. In Strong's Concordance, it aligns with tip or plumb line. And in Greek Concordance, it aligns with acceptance. Give me just a second. So Zehra means beautiful, bright, brilliant splendor. That's in Arabic. In Hebrew, it's Zehra or Zara, to shine or brilliant. And this is where I wrote it the other day. And this is what I'm saying, bits and pieces come. And then I'm like, oh, that goes with that and that belongs with that. A rising of light. Zerach, 2225, a rising of light. A rising and shining after a period of darkness. Zerach, which aligns with 612 and 613, which, as we know, have been coming through in many of my readings. True Blue, Sound of Silence, Ezekiel, Romans. And as I said, that word Everton. Now, there's a suburb that I drive through on my way home every day in the city that I live in that houses that word Everton. So the fact that it came up, but it ties in with this because this is talking about a golden dawn, a new dawn. And there is a maternity hospital in Everton Park, which is why I was searching it up. And what happens at a maternity hospital? Things are born. It has begun. Rapture date among men, number 41, and the letters U and N. Okay, let's get some cards. I do have some extra information, but I'm going to get some cards first. Whoa. Okay, 72, 2 sevens. Success, 2 sevens. 77, 72. That card aligns with the death card. It's a new beginning, death and rebirth. Wow, how beautiful is that? I've just realized what the other card is, Michael. Perseverance, adversity, conflict, and success. That card aligns with the Chariot. So movement forward, but Archangel Michael is a messenger of truth. Just give me 1 second because it also aligns with a verse, 91:10, which is 911. Psalm 91:10. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. Archangel Michael will bring success in conflict and defeat your adversaries with ease. Let's have a look at 72. Psalm 116:7. Return unto thy rest, O my soul, for the Lord hath death bountifully with thee. Okay. Now, this, the reading, I will pop it in. There are 4 royal stars of Persia. Palm Sunday, which was yesterday, is when Jesus rode a donkey into Jerusalem through the Eastern Gate. Now, the Eastern Gate is called the Golden Gate. The dream message, rapture date among men. He rode the donkey into town as a man. He left the city as a king. There's a reference here to... So this is death and rebirth. He came in as one and he left as another. Now, the Eastern Gate is referenced in John. I'm going to get my notes because there's just so much going on here. Okay. And I was writing this morning and it's just kind of, all the pieces are coming together and I'm trying to put it together while I'm talking so it just doesn't come out as a jumble. The Eastern Gate in Christianity is known as the Golden Gate. In Judaism is known as the Gate of Mercy, and in Islam is known as the Gate of Eternal Life. It's currently sealed. The Watcher of the East, Michael is the Watcher of the East. And lots of readings coming through about the watchman. Ezekiel talks about the watchman. And if people don't repent for the things that they've done, then a great earthquake will befall. The Watcher of the East is Archangel Michael. The star that he aligns with is Aldebaran, which is one of the 4 royal stars of Persia. It's in the constellation Taurus, the eye of the bull. And in the sky, it runs with the, is it the elliptic or the ecliptic? He's the follower of the Pleiades, but in the sky, it references the Golden Gate. In Luke, Taurus is the east. He references the bull. Taurus, the power of God, overwhelms the power of the animal nature of man. It's the eastern gate. It's the gate of man. Jesus rode into the eastern gate as a man. Then I heard there will be 12 gates to the city in the millennial reign. But I actually wrote it as reign. Not as in R-E-I-G-N. I actually wrote it as reign, which came through in that original message about the number 41. And then the western gate is Scorpio, which is Antares, the royal Persian star of Antares. And he starts as a Scorpio, but ends up turning into Aquila the eagle, the highest consciousness, which overwhelms the carnal mind of man, the western gate. It's the gate of the gods. And if you look at, you can see, I was talking about this in a reading the other day, these 2 keys here. There's the silver key and the golden key. Well, the golden key is the key to the gate of heaven, and the silver key is the key to the gate of man. And that's the Hierophant in the original drawing of the tarot. The Hierophant is God, Taurus and Venus. And what else did I write? Yeah, Taurus is the gate of man. Excuse my scribble, but I literally, things were just coming into my head. Jesus entered as a man and left as a king. The western gate is the Jaffa gate. And then I was like, I remember it as a kid. Never eat soggy Weet-Bix. Weet-Bix is a cereal that's funny. Weet-Bix is a cereal in Australia made out of wheat, which is the harvest. Never eat soggy Weet-Bix. And ironically, my grandfather, whose name I've been looking up the numbers of, he was a sheep and wheat farmer. Interesting, right? Just making sure I've got nothing else because it all aligns. Yeah, look at this. This is yesterday I was writing stuff down. Aldebaran, which is Michael. Aldebaran marks the spring equinox. The slayer of the cosmic bull, seen as the god Mithra, Ahura Mazda, the slayer of the cosmic bull, Mithra was the lord of contracts, promised to obtain one's goals, but only by maintaining moral integrity. The eye of Taurus, the star in the bull sky, in Arabic it's the follower of the Pleiades in Taurus, 7 is Pleiades. Taurus, the gate of man, Scorpio, the gate of God. Mesopotamians called Aldebaran the messenger of light. Well, what happens at dawn? We get new light. Aldebaran, 154. Muhammad, Enigma code. It also aligns with 348, Star, Angels, Emerald, Indigo, Teddy, and Zara. There's that bright, brilliant again. Strong's, 154, to ask, beg. Strong arm, mighty power, 348, to hinder. Isabel, the gate of mercy. Faces the Mount of Olives, it's sealed. Most direct access to the Temple Mount, where Jesus entered. The Eastern Gate, 4, 3, 4. 3 and 4 is 7. 4 by 7 is 28, which is somebody's Saturn return. Saturn is a karmic lesson. Saturn is also the Sabbath because it's Saturday, Saturn day. It's a karmic test. It's a karmic lesson. It has begun. Most direct access to the Temple Mount, sealed shut in 1541 AD, sealed for 500 years by Muslim. Ezekiel 43, 1-5, Lord, return to the temple, the gate facing east. This is just where it's referenced in the Bible. Ezekiel 46, the second prince will enter by the eastern gate. Interesting, right? It's like I just find myself when these messages are coming through that I'm going round and round and round. And it's fascinating, but sometimes, and that's why I've had a couple of days off, because I've just had so much information coming through. Okay, so the dream, rapture date among men, number 41, and the letters U and N, telepathy. Telepathy is communication. It's messages. It's messages that you're getting. Interestingly, that's so funny, right? I actually align a lot with things that my daughter picks up on, and she doesn't necessarily, well, she doesn't watch tarot or read tarot or anything like that, but I will often be picking up things. We've got a very close relationship. I will often be picking up things, and then she'll walk out and she'll be humming a song which essentially aligns with a message that I'm picking up on. So she came out this morning, really early this morning, and she said to me, in my dream, I was singing the song by Bastille called Pompeii. Now, Pompeii was destroyed, I think in 79 AD, and some see it as a sign from God because the Romans destroyed the second temple. Well, we're talking about the temple. I'm just thinking about Pentecost this year. And that's interesting, actually, telepathy. Because Pentecost, they spoke in tongues. Pentecost is the 8th of the 6th. It's the 8th of June. And Jupiter, which is 777, will have just gone into Cancer. Cancer is the chariot. So it's forward movement. But in terms of messages, they spoke in tongues. The reason that the Holy Spirit came was because they were meant to then, now that Jesus had gone, they were meant to then, the 12 apostles were meant to deliver the message of Christianity, which was then, of course, delivered to the whole world. And it has been the predominant religion in the whole world for the last 1500 years. Telepathy. Information coming. Yeah, look at that on the bottom. Completion. It has begun. This is the death card. Endings and beginnings. Michael, the gate of man. And if I think of Pentecost, Pentecost is fire. The gate, it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. And maybe that's why I couldn't light my candle. Because I was trying to use a new candle. There's something about this that lies in the past. The end, the beginning, the end. In the beginning. The end is the beginning and the beginning is the end. Okay. Let's get interesting. Okay. This is a divinely led reading. That's a judgment card, which is what we're talking about. Look at that. Can you see? The way I drew that card was the eyes. All of those eyes. Where did I write that? Isaiah 41, the helper of Israel, be silent before you, my islands. Let them come forward and speak. Let us meet together at the place of judgment. Let me find it. I know I wrote it somewhere. I did. This was from the reading the other day when I was talking about John's Testament and Vision. Lion, ox, man, eagle, which is the 4 royal stars of Persia, and it aligns with parallels in Ezekiel 1:18, 10 to 12, full of all eyes around. Just heard the gates of hell. Okay, judgment card. Judgment is Pluto energy. We are currently in the Pluto and Aquarius transit. It's a 248-year or 250-year transit, and Pluto spends 20 years in Aquarius. It is a time of revolutionary change. In the past, when the Pluto and Aquarius transit has been at play, we've seen the American Revolution, the French Revolution. We saw, and actually, that's why that photo's come through. Where is it? In the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo, through that transit, painted the story of Adam and Eve and the Last Judgment, which is painted on the back wall of the Sistine Chapel. That's where that's in the Vatican, painted on the back wall of the Sistine Chapel. The beginning and the end. This has got something to do with the Catholic Church. The beginning and the end. Under judgment. Irony is one of my kids will be visiting the Vatican on the 7th of the 7th this year, which is that day that Uranus goes into Gemini. That placement, give me a second. When Michelangelo painted that on the walls of the Sistine Chapel, what was actually happening in England at the time was Henry VIII was breaking England away from the Catholic Church. He basically changed the entire structure of religion within his country to suit his narrative. Isn't that interesting? To suit his narrative. Many, many, many 7/7 references in that story between Anne Boleyn and Henry VIII. And if you look at these big stories in history, what I'm finding, and this reading will be posted within a series of readings called The Wheel Within the Wheel, there are major players within history, as in big influential figures in history that align with these 7/7 references, and they're either used as I said, Saturday is 7. They're either used as a example of good or an example of evil. That's so interesting. Okay, let's going to see what comes out for this reading. The Queen of Wands is the energy around at the moment. The Queen of Wands is the moon in Leo. We've got the Four of Pentacles, which is the energy individually we're sitting in, and it goes back to that be silent. Isaiah 41, be silent. It's almost not being held back, but actually just holding back. I think people are very aware that things are moving, things are changing, and they're just, it's almost like when you sort of, now I've never been in an earthquake, but I can imagine when you feel that initial tremor and you just kind of like assessing, it's assessment energy. And we've got the Page of Pentacles on the bottom, learning, assessing. What is going on? Where do I fit within this? And depending on my choice, the Queen of Wands is about fiery action forward. Depending on the choice that I make, the moon in Leo, the outcome is hidden. Depending on the choice I make will actually determine my fate. Determine whether I stay within the gate of man or enter into the gate of the gods. What's happening in the soul? Yeah, not sure. That's the Five of Wands. Saturn in Leo. It's a one wrong move, and I'm toast. I said I could smell toast. One wrong move and I'm toast. Okay, the message from the man. Whoa, the message from the man upstairs. We've got temperance, which is balance. Heavily watched over by the angels, whatever's happening at the moment, and it's judgment. And the Four of Cups, which is the moon in Cancer. I've got on the bottom, the King of Swords, looking for a truth. The outcome. Whoa, did you see that card fly out though? Justice. The Four of, yeah, look at that, the Four of Swords. 4-4. There was a song that was playing after Interlude Dawn, and it's called Be Still. And I'll find it and I'll put it in the description. But it's a religious song. I've got all different songs on my playlist. I don't just put them on random shuffle because I use them. They often align with messages that are coming through. Healing after heartbreak, healing after disappointment. Cradled by the angels. And we do too. We've got 4-4-4. Heavenly protected, heavily protected. Justice, completion, success. There's a rebirth coming. Rapture date among men, number 41, and the letters U and N. Now, when you think about the United Nations, the UN is sent in as peacekeepers. The UN are peacekeepers. The peacekeepers are coming in. My ear's ringing. My left ear is ringing. The UN is sent in as peacekeepers. Just looking at this evergreen. Jupiter, Rapture, Ascension, Golden Dawn, Poetry, Everton, Aborigines, South Korea, Zera. Can you hear that candle crackling? Okay, let's get... the King of Cups. Now, the King of Cups is Neptune in Pisces, so there's this big spiritual lesson going on here. And the Knight of Wands. Knight of Wands comes forward in haste. As I said, we've got this kind of just watch and wait energy. And when you think about that 41, it's 40 days held in the arms of an angel. You will find some comfort here. I've got that image of Hindra Jab. I read something the other day and it was so beautiful. It was a Muslim woman. I've got dandelions in my garden and the wind's just blown and it's just blown. It's like these souls being blown. It was a Muslim woman and she was talking about the broken bodies of the people in Palestine, the people that had passed. And she said, it was so beautiful. She said that God had carried their souls to heaven before their bodies broke, or before they felt the pain of their bodies breaking. I was thinking about Hindra Jab this morning. Her name is found in the Old Testament under the number 355. Can you hear that ambulance? Along with the souls that went to save her. That was that 911 card. Whatever's happening here, Rapture date among men, number 41, and the letters UN, is a spiritual emergency, and God's calling the big guns. If you go into Strong's Concordance and you put in the number 355, which is the amount of bullets that were fired at that car from that tank, and they knew she was in it, because the Palestinian Red Crescent had to liaise with the Israeli army in order to get access to that area. So they knew she was there. They knew they were sending somebody in to get a little girl that was in the car, still alive in the car. And the tank rolled in. 355 bullets were shot at that car. When you go into Strong's Concordance, in the Hebrew biblical text, 355, the number 355, aligns with a word that means Hind, her name. Judgment. It's got this real, everything's done. Everything's set. We're just waiting. We're just waiting for the cake to come out of the oven. That's a really bad analogy. Look at that. That's not meant to be. 4 of Cups. Everything's already set. 4-4. Strength. Why did I have that before? Yeah, I did. 4-4. Passover, April 13th. A 1 and a 3 is 4, and it was in the 4th month, the 4th of April. 4-4. That, in this deck, that's God. 10 of Swords. Let's look at the 5 of Wands. This is what's happening in the 3D. Actually, I watched a video this morning of her mum. She was talking, she actually used the word judgment on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment. Jupiter in Pisces. Ace of Cups. And the 9 of Cups. That's Jupiter in Pisces, and that... This is what's happening in the soul of everybody on the planet who's just sitting watching what's happening. Stuck because you can't do anything because it's being controlled by bigger. Date among men. It's the judgment among men. And we're being judged on what we've already done. It's a massive, massive spiritual awakening. And I think it's a spiritual awakening into the power of God. Temperance and the 4 of Cups. Yeah, we're being... That's the 5 of Pentacles. We're being let out of the cage. In terms of our minds are about to be blown. And I wasn't going to go down here, but I'm going to because it's the Hermit. Our minds are being... That's a spiritual awakening. I'm going to get one more card here, and then I'm going to show you something. Because everything aligns. The 7 of Wands. What have we collectively been defensive to in terms of what we didn't want to hear? Justice. Queen of Pentacles. And the Queen of Wands. And on the bottom, the Chariot. Let me show you something. So, okay. This Bible was actually given to me by my grandfather, the grandfather, who I believe is the person that sends me messages in my dreams and gives me little... He was a very, very religious man, literally could recite the Bible from front to back, and always giving gifts of Bibles, which as kids we just thought was like weird. But now I'm 50, I recognize that he was laying down the foundations of messages that were meant to come through at a later date. This was a card that I got that was written from him, by him, on my confirmation day, which is when I got this Bible, Psalm 111. And it's essentially about how to be a good person. And he says, you know, read it. Read Psalm 11. Read Psalm 111. The sanctity of the godly. Interesting, a Passover song. That was yesterday. On the same page. So the other thing that was in the Bible, and I actually put this in here the other day, years and years ago, I pulled this Bible out and it's just been sat in a drawer. It's been in storage for, 40 years. And I found this little music sheet in there and I couldn't work out why it was in there. There's messages and everything. And I've been searching to try and work out what the message is. I've got the temperance. It's a message. It's a message from the angels. And so I tried to play it. I tried to work it out. I put it in all of these apps, trying to listen to it to see if I knew it. And I couldn't find it anywhere. But it's sitting on this verse about the living stone and the holy nation. And it was sitting there. This stone is of great value for you that believe, but for those of you who do not believe, the stone which the builders rejected as worthless turned out to be the most important of all. This is a stone that will make people stumble, the rock that will make them fall. And it goes on and on and on. And it wasn't until yesterday that I worked out what it meant. Now, we're talking about stones here. And as I said to you, my grandfather, his name means stony field. Jacob, the heel holder, somebody who he was called. He was holding on to the heel of his brother as they were born. Somebody who wants to covet something of somebody else's. I'm going to pop this here and I'm going to tell you because I worked out what it was. And there's messages within messages, right? The Bible was actually stored in a cupboard in a box with a whole heap of childhood toys. That is the song from Barbie and the Rockers. Now, if you're my age group, you would know that Barbie and the Rockers, here we go, Stony Field, what rocks the cornerstones, Barbie and the Rockers was a collection of dolls that was put out by Mattel. And I thought, oh, Rachel, you idiot. You know, this is just, and yes, if you've just worked that out. So my maiden name was Jacob, but my first name is Rachel, which is why I get all these bloody biblical references, because my name for the first 25 years of my life before I got married was Rachel Jacob, as in Rachel and Jacob in the Bible. I've now been married for 25 years, so 25 years as Rachel Jacob and 25 years as my name. I'm not going to give you my surname. But again, 2 and a 5 is 7. 7, 7. Pentecost, which is the Feast of Weeks, Shavuot, falls 50 days after Passover and Palm Sunday, which was yesterday. I'm 50 this year. 7 and 7 is 49. And then the 50, so it's my Jubilee year. Crazy, right? So anyway, let's get back to Barbie and the Rockers. Barbie and the Rockers was a collection of dolls that Mattel put out, I think in 1985. And I'm going to get the information because it's fascinating. And this was in that Bible for a reason. And I thought I was looking for something else. I kind of went down one rabbit hole, but it wasn't until yesterday that I went, oh my goodness, I know why. And how funny is that? I've just typed in Barbie and the Rockers into Google, and the Stanley Cups have just brought out a Barbie and the Rockers version of their mug. My grandfather's name was Stanley. How funny is that? That's so funny. Okay, so I'm just in Wikipedia, but listen to this. Barbie and the Rockers, known as Barbie and the Rock Stars in Europe, is a doll line created in the mid-1980s by Mattel to compete with Hasbro's popular Gem doll line. They were on the market for roughly 3 years. A direct-to-video special was released in 1987. The characters included Diva, Scottish-Irish-American redhead, Dana, a Korean-American, Dee Dee, an African-American, and Derek. Ken joined the band in later waves. Hasbro, in 1985, long unable to compete with Mattel's near monopoly on the fashion market with Barbie, opted to create Jem. Jem, who assumed a dual identity via the supercomputer Synergy, which enabled her to appear as Jem via realistic holographic disguises, and her soap opera-esque tribulations, including love triangles and rivalries with other bands. It was accompanied by animated series and Marvel Productions. Seeking to compete, Mattel rushed the Barbie and the Rockers line into production, with Mattel's line reaching store shelves before Hasbro's Jem products could. Rumors have circulated for years as to how Mattel was able to beat Hasbro to the punch. One theory involving corporate espionage in Hong Kong, where both companies had toy factories in close proximity. Both lines also had an assortment of similar dolls and accessories, leading some to speculate as to if Mattel indeed had leaked information. For their part, Mattel denies these claims. Both companies' spokespeople continue to issue terse statements over alleged plagiarism, additional controversy, which attracted by the initial absence of Ken from the toy line. Interesting, right? What's going on here at the moment? And it's just got really overcast and windy. What's going on here at the moment in terms of what's happening? Because there's messages within everything. You've got the Vatican coming out in images. We've got Passover and Palm Sunday. Messages about Muslim children losing their lives. And it's all under judgment. Because if you think about the Eastern Gate, is currently controlled because it forms on the Temple Mount, the Dome of the Rock, that beautiful big gold top mosque, which sits on the top of the foundations of the first and the second Jewish temple, which were destroyed. It's the interactions between three parties here date among men. It's what three individual parties, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, have done in the realms of men. And the letters U and N. In their desire to get to heaven. Who have they stepped on in their desire to get to heaven? And now I'm hearing that BTS song, Eternal. When we get to heaven. So interesting, this reading. Okay, completion. Spying energy. Kind of screams espionage to me. Falling in love with your authentic self. That is the Western Gate, which is Scorpio. The spiritual awakening that we go through, once all of this comes out, God will judge first. But then we will actually, as men, not gender specific, as man, be able to assess through soul enlightenment, through soul growth, through dark night of the soul that collectively we're all meant to be going through at the moment, because the North Node is in Pisces, which is spirituality, a spiritual awakening. It's a huge spiritual awakening, connecting us with our higher self. Truth, Archangel Michael's sword of truth, about to ram us between the eyes and bring in some justice. About things that are hidden. Spying energy. That's espionage. Oh, this reading. It's all about to be brought to light. Join the adventure. Cardinal Moon plays those trust like a boss. When this card comes out, I think of the Cardinals. It's the Cardinals. There's, what was it called? I watched a movie a couple of months ago. Oh, what was it called? I'm going to get it. It's very interesting. Conclave, it's called. And it's about the Pope passing away. And all the cardinals who then have to meet in the conclave in the Sistine Chapel, which is where they basically announce the new Pope. It's where they vote and announce the new Pope. And on the back of the wall of the Sistine Chapel is Michelangelo's painting of Judgment Day. And as I said, the Sistine Chapel starts with the birth of Eve, the creation of Adam, that whole story, which essentially is about judgment. What did you sacrifice? Who did you sacrifice? And I'm talking collectively. I mean, you could be taking this individually for you, but I'm talking, for me, this is collective. What entity sacrificed another entity in order to get to what is their perceived heaven? Okay, let's get one of those. South Node in the 12th house. If your South Node is kicking back in the 12th house, you might have been the maestro of playing the victim, allowing others to walk all over you. But guess what? Forgiveness, my friend, is the magic potion for seizing control of your fate. It's time to ditch the cozy nest of the past to embrace your inner eagle, and rule the skies. It's a spiritual awakening. The Scorpio gate, which is the western gate. The Wicked Witch of the West. What did she do? That song came up as well this morning. So if you dare to find me, she worked out where the evil was. If you dare to find me, look to the western sky. She had a spiritual awakening. And flew off on a broomstick. And Taurus is the eagle. And in John, it's Scorpio. Starts as a Scorpio, but turns into Aquila the eagle. It's time to ditch the cozy nest of the past to embrace your inner eagle and rule the skies. The highest consciousness which overwhelms the carnal mind of man and takes you to the gate of gods. Now, in the beginning, I pulled out this Hierophant card. The Hierophant is a soul contract that you have with God in terms of where your soul started its life. So, for example, that word Everton, a maternity hospital there, where babies are born, the religion that you're born into, the set of moral guidelines of the family that you are born into, the culture that you're born into. And you're kind of molded and shaped and fed everything in your life in and around those structures. But when you go through a spiritual awakening and realize that perhaps some things that you've been told aren't actually true, you have a battle in your mind, but you go through a spiritual awakening. That's the 9 of Cups, which is Jupiter, 777, expansion in Pisces. It's a spiritual awakening so that you can be the eagle and fly. It brings in divine balance. It means that instead of defending the words of other people, this is a 7 of Wands. And I watched a video this morning of a man who was basically pulling apart what this woman had, and in a nice way, pulling apart what this woman had learned about the New Testament and what it actually meant. And I'll link it in the description because it's too hard to explain it. But she was a Christian woman who was of the belief that she had to support one side of what was happening in the Middle East. And he pulled it all apart very, very quietly and simply. He just pulled it all apart. And her eyes were opened. Her eyes were opened. So interesting. Okay, I'm going to get... I want to know what's going on here with Barbie and the Rocker Spot. Let's get Scrabble Tiles, letters and numbers. Now, the UN did actually come out the other day, and so did W. And I did mention it in the readings. So if you have watched those readings, you may remember that they came out. And that's what I mean. Bits and pieces of the puzzle, and they all kind of align, but I don't necessarily get them all together. Okay, letters and numbers in here. I'm going to give it a shake. Let's see what comes out. It does make a little bit of noise. I'm going to shake it in 3, 2, 1. When I was talking before about, you know, some of the words that were coming through, like Aborigine, I'm actually in the process of getting together a reading, an E and a 1. W, that's Cassiopeia. Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, U. Now, my name, Rachel, means you or sheep. Go and have a look at what your name means. There's hidden messages everywhere. An O and a 1. A Q and a 10. A G and a 2. An F and a 4. An R and a 1. A V and a 4. It's a journey. An RV, it's a journey. A P and a 3. A U. There's your U. U for the UN. It's a puzzle. A Z and a 10 and an X. The beginning and the end. What I was saying before was I'm finding synchronicities between a connection between the story of Adam and Eve and the story of Australia. Because the Aboriginal people in Australia, the Indigenous population in Australia, is the longest surviving culture in what you would call Australia being the Garden of Eden, because they were untouched here until 250 years ago, during the last Pluto and Aquarius transit, where somebody came in and changed the wheel. Major synchronicities between Australia connecting with the soul journey that we are on. The number 7, which is that Saturn, which is Sabbath, which is the 777 cycles. Connections with the word soul and alignments with soul in Korea and Ezrock. And that reading will come out shortly. Let me get your final cards. 3 final cards. It's a puzzle. 3 final cards. Yeah, look at that. We're being released. Swords of the mind. We're about to get some clarity. Potentially things that you've been picking up on already, telepathy. But Archangel Michael, we are being released. The 8 of Swords is Jupiter in Gemini. Now, I said to you, on Pentecost, or 2-3 days after Pentecost, which is in June, Jupiter goes into Cancer. Jupiter is 777. Cancer, where did we have it? Is the Chariot. I think it was on the bottom here, the Chariot. We're about to be released. Jupiter goes into Cancer. That's Jupiter in Gemini. In 2 minds. 2 people fighting, Mattel and Hasbro. 2 countries fighting. 2 sides to the story. We're about to get some enlightenment. We're about to get pieces of the puzzle. Rapture date. Date among men, the number 41, and the letters UN. Seven of Cups, which is Venus in Pisces. That's a card of illusion. And the Strength. 3 of Cups on the bottom. That's Mercury in Cancer. That's a card of communication. And I just heard Father Abraham has many sons. 3 suns, 3 sevens. 3 Abrahamic faiths, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. 3 brothers, all worship the same God, but just in different ways. And I just heard, in the battles between them have waged a war, and God's about to take control. That's what I've got for you. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading. As I said, I'll list any songs that come through I'll list any songs that came through in the description. Any of the previous readings that I spoke about, I will also list, as well as any external readings. If you're called to any of my tarot or oracle decks, the links to those can be found in the description box. And I just heard, at the end of this, you'll be able to speak your own mind rather than speaking the words of somebody else, because you'll be more connected to your higher self, falling in love with your authentic self. Confidence in your ability to know and understand a situation. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you in another reading.